Mode. Okay, great. Well, I have a script here, which is exciting because public hearings. I'm not used to this. But first, we'll call this special meeting. Oh, hi, Greg. Special meeting of Jefferson Transit Authority Board to order, and do a quick roll call. Roll call here. I see Kate. I see Greg. I see Heidi. I see John, and I'm here. So that's 5 of us, and we think that Vivian can't make it today, we think, and we haven't heard from David, so he might pop in at some point. So, in any case, we are called to order. So we start with, according to the script, we start with public comment. Like I said, I only saw Debbie in attendance there, so we haven't received any public comment. Is that correct?
Not regular public comment, just the one public testimony written that we can do during that time.
Great. Okay. And nobody. Debbie, do you want to make public comment? I don't see a hand up there, so we'll go into the public hearing. So we are now opening the public hearing for the 2024 to 2029 Transit Development Plan. And the purpose of this hearing is to invite testimony from members of the public regarding the draft 2024 to 2029 Transit Development Plan. I imagine it might get abbreviated to TDP at some point here. The public hearing will proceed as follows: staff presentation, comments and questions from the board, public testimony, and then we'll be closing the public hearing. So now it is time for the staff presentation. Nicole?
Okay, yes. So I know that we kicked this off at our June board meeting. And so I welcome Jamie and Miranda to also chime in. And we presented the TDP to the board at that point, asking that the board review and let us know if you have any questions or concerns, any typos, anything that we should be fixing or going more into depth on. So I'm wondering if we want a whole presentation or if we want to just where staff is here and ready to accept feedback from the board and from the public on the TDP.
Well, I'll leave it up to my fellow board members here. I don't see anybody else online from the public besides Debbie Yonke, so she's welcome to pipe in. But do we want more of a setup from Nicole on this, or have we had time to look through and feeling pretty good about it? See nods. Kate?
Yeah, I've had time to review it and feel pretty good about moving forward with discussion. I don't think that I need a overview, but if others do, that's fine too.
I would think since
concur with Kate.
Yeah, okay. I would think since there's no members of the public who aren't already exposed to this, that we could probably skip the baseline of that, unless there's any of the tweaks that have happened already are notable. Nicole, anything that
I do not think that we've received any feedback from the board about changes or typos. I think we had asked the board to kind of look at it closely since it is a brand new document, but we haven't received any feedback yet. We did receive the one public comment from the public, which we can read in when the time is right. But other than that, we haven't been receiving or have not received any feedback.
Yeah, sorry I haven't sent anything in. I've been very impressed with the look of it. I think it's nice to make it it's more accessible now, or it seems like it's evolving towards being a document that the public might actually do want to read. That's really nice. But I haven't combed through looking for typos, and I apologize for that. So I'm not sure. Anybody want to add anything in here?
I have read it, and I usually have an eye for typos, and I haven't seen any.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Thanks, Jamie.
I see some nods here. So I think that's I trust my fellow board members to have a really good eye for this. So somebody's doing a really good job there, Jamie.
And I agree. I agree with you that I think the look and feel of it makes it really accessible for the community, and I'm really impressed how readable it was and how concise really it is, and that I think the really important information is in there and it's well laid out.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice job.
Well, we want to make sure we get a shout out to Kelly for the layout and the look because she did all of that. So thank you, Kelly, for your amazing work
Kelly,
on
for
this
their support.
project.
Excellent. All right. Well, get back to my script. So, I mean, with the board comments and questions, I mean, are there any questions besides feedback on the document itself?
I just had a couple of specific ones. The surge on fixed route in September, that's Wooden Boat Festival, right? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. That was my first little miniature question. I'll go back to mute.
Anybody else have anything to add? Oh, Kate, sorry.
That's all right. Yeah, just a few things. Overall looks great. I feel like it really captured kind of the things I was hoping to see in it. A couple of things that I think could be emphasized a little bit more. Kind of how we implement the climate. I should know exactly the name. Climate action. Climate. Remind me the name of the
climate action or climate action plan.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not crazy. Okay. Yeah. Like I don't know, like in the fleet part, when we talk about zero emissions vehicles, I don't know, it just it didn't call out like we have this plan that's going to be fresh and implementable. And, I'm not sure how important that is for the purpose of this document, which, has a fairly limited scope for our funding or for our funders. But that's something I didn't quite see enough of. And then I do think you did a good job of mentioning the comprehensive plan we'll be doing this year for, looking at additional routes and such. But that's something else. I just think like both of those could be emphasized a little bit more. They're like, I had to look for them. And those are just things that I'm excited about in the 24 to 29 timeframe. My only other feedback was in looking at the JTOC graphic. Sorry, scrolling, trying to get to the right page. I wondered so it's on page 10 of the document in AV Capture, but page 9 of the TDP. Just wondered if any chance of changing the background on the map, the national forest or park, I'm assuming looks a lot like water, and it's just a little confusing. I kept having to kind of readjust my eyes to make sense of that map.
Right.
That's all.
Would that be hard to do, Jamie? Or Kelly?
That Jamie did not make that map. I'm not sure if that was Kelly or Lisa that designed that, but we'll consult the experts here and find out if that's a quick fix or if that's going to be.
If anything, we'll add some tree diagrams and
right. Maybe we can put the little tree graphics.
Yeah. Hopefully they don't end up looking like waves, but we'll can look like trees.
Yeah, I mean, obviously people that live out there will understand this map really well, but yeah, okay. That's good feedback. Anybody else have any thoughts on this?
I just want to underscore what Kate said about our analysis of the service model and what's on page 15. I feel like we could be a little more explicit about the work that we're doing, because that is kind of a big review of our service and we get so much feedback about it. and there's room on the page, not requiring total redo of that page. I think just adding something about some of the details of that analysis that we're going to do might answer questions that we would get from the community in the future.
Sorry, Heidi, were you trying to do an actionable suggestion based on what Kate was saying? Throw in the ride analysis there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
just
think great idea.
underscore I think the opportunity we have with that work that we're embarking on now.
So just to clarify, so that we understand for the COA, which not page 19, we want to put it into the fleet section. Is that what we're?
No, I think on page 15 of the actual plan, we start talking about the COA just briefly. I think there's 4 sentences total, and maybe beefing up that section, maybe with a few more sentences about our plans and how we'll incorporate the service requests into our operational analysis. And right, something more eloquent than that, but
because I like that the community requests are there in that graphic format, but I feel like there's kind of a bridge that could be made between.
okay.
We've heard a lot from the community. Here's some of the top, a little more there.
Okay.
And then Miranda, the fleet part that I was mentioning, I was thinking more of just talking about incorporating the work of the climate action plan into there's a couple of sections on fleet. So I'm not sure where, but there just wasn't a lot of talk about the climate action plan implementation.
Okay.
John?
Yeah, I also on page 15 in the actual plan, I was actually really impressed with the community requests and felt like those were pretty much right on target in terms of things that we've talked about as a board and kind of matched well with what we were doing. And one suggestion for how you might expand that section is to say that, the upcoming comprehensive analysis would look at those community suggestions and other ideas and develop some kind of a prioritization for those suggestions. Because I think when I looked at that, my first thought was it would be nice to know what the priority is, but I realized that's really going to come out of that comprehensive analysis. So I think finding a way to say that might help people to understand kind of where we're going.
I like it.
Yeah, that's good feedback. Now that I look at that more closely, that's the first thing I think of, like, well, how are we prioritizing these? When? Anybody else have anything to add?
I think it's great. I think we got a good presentation on it before, and I think you guys all have done really good work. I support the comments and notes, and I like that they're actionable notes here on how to improve it. I hope they're fairly minor. I think it's great. I also appreciated sort of the concessions about the challenges with the electric buses. I mean, I just really strong document, I thought.
Yeah, it feels very open and honest and clear. Okay, well, I guess back to the script here. Public testimony. So if there is a lot of public testimony, chair can set limit of 3 minutes each per person. I think we're gonna have to not think about that right now. So here's the words. We are now accepting public testimony on the 2024 to 29 Transit Development Plan. Does anyone choose to give public testimony? Those people wishing to give public testimony are asked to speak clearly and state their full name and place of residence. And I see Debbie on there if she wants to. And then we have something to read in as well, so we'll just skip to that at least. And if somebody raises their hand in the meantime, we'll call on them. Who would be reading that in?
I'll read it in. So written public testimony, this was included in the packet, but it was asked to be public testimony, is from Nick Satelli, and he says, Hello, I do not drive and find it difficult to get around Jefferson County with just a bike and infrequent service. Please prioritize service expansion and increase bus frequency for the transit plan. Having even an hourly bus every day connecting the region would unlock so many more possibilities for people without cars. We are also in the midst of a climate crisis and need to give people alternatives to driving. The bus does just that. In Everett, Seattle, the buses are frequent and many drivers choose to take the bus. For non-drivers like me, also makes it possible to navigate those cities without having to beg friends for rides. In this context, prioritizing electrification of the bus fleet seems performative, especially when that money could be used for more service to help Jefferson County and reduce car usage, which will have a greater impact on the climate.
Thanks for reading that in. Is there any response we want to make to that? It's pretty common feedback that we get. So, Greg, did you put your hand up? Or
Yeah, I think, it is challenging. I think increasing the prominence of the route study is kind of the appropriate response to this. I don't know if we want to acknowledge, or if I'm even correct in my analysis, that one of the biggest challenges we face is staffing. And, we can plan all the routes that we want and have all the buses we want, and it would still be a real challenge to do it. And I just don't, I wonder in light of this, if that's something we should acknowledge either here or in, I don't know if it's the appropriate place, I guess. I don't know where else.
right. Okay, did I see your hand up earlier?
Yeah. But Greg's given me something to think about. Are you suggesting that we put it in the TDP as a challenge?
Yeah, I'm contemplating. Throwing, brainstorming that. Yes.
Yeah. There isn't really a section where we talk about kind of challenges, is there? Well, either way, again, the purpose of this document is fairly limited, so it doesn't need to capture everything. But I mostly just wanted to say that, to thank Nick for his comment, and I think both the two main points I get out of that around expanding service and reducing carbon footprint are both things that we're working really actively on and are committed to ongoing.
And if I may just speak to Commissioner Brotherton's comment too, I know it's not a huge section, but we do call out under our agency supporting activities that it was a challenge to maintain and recruit sufficient staff last year, and that we're putting things in place to position ourselves as an employer of choice in this county. So it's not a huge, big, loud section, but it is addressed that staffing has been an issue.
That's great. I appreciate that, Jamie. And can you tell me what page I'd look at, finish my homework on?
Yeah, which page is that, would you say, Jamie, to look at?
On my PDF, it is page 15. It's 14 of the plan, if you're going by the page numbers.
Okay, great. Okay. Yeah, just to echo that, what Greg's saying is I do think there is, from the public's perspective, there's not like one sense of what the bottleneck is in our system. They might understand that, they can see the ads or, for drivers and operators, and they might understand that buses, of course, are going to be a limiting factor, the amount of buses. But I don't know if the people fully understand, like, why don't we have, whatever the thing that they're missing is. Often it's Sunday or frequency or later at night. What is holding that back? It'd be nice to be able to, maybe this isn't the document for that, but I do think an outward facing kind of understanding, like, what are we waiting for there? Or what's the, it's also budgetary and anyway, I know that from the public, they don't really understand why. They just assume that we don't want to do it. And we know that's not true, but right. All right, so anybody, I'm gonna go look over the attendees again. Debbie, come on. My only hope.
I have one small suggestion on that,
Yes.
that paragraph on page 14. maybe it could be titled staffing instead of recruitment, because I think that is what it talks about, more explicitly.
Right. And your first word is recruiting, so it's not like you're losing that point. Yeah. I would echo that.
Can I ask it? This is a little tiny detail, but above the agency supporting activities on that page, is that like a hanging bullet up there? That little dot in the upper left corner?
Well, it looks like there's like a
There's-
pinboard kind
Yeah,
of
it's
look.
like tax. There's
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Corner.
okay, got it. Oh, I
Yeah.
see. It's in all the
If you don't
corners.
zoom
Got it.
out, it looks weird. But if you zoom out, you can see it.
Debbie has her hand up.
Oh, great.
Hmm.
Debbie, talk to us.
Good afternoon, JTAB. PEG examined this report at our last meeting, and we found it to be excellent. And we agreed with most everything you've said. I would want to point out the problem with the gentleman's comment and with the public in general is they really don't understand that government money comes in pots that can't go one place or another. Oh, well, you're buying a new bus. Why can't you hire drivers or, anything like that? I don't know how you express that to the public, that you don't get to just get rid of a bus and have more staff or vice versa or change routes. And Miranda did a wonderful analysis at our last meeting about just what it costs per person, per route, per day. And I wish there was some way we could convey that to the public, because what they ask, they think it's really simple, and it's really not simple at all. And I don't know how you express that to the public, but I think it's a wonderful document. Jamie, I have one potential typo I will send you. I don't really think it's a typo, but I will ask, since you seem to be concerned that someone needs to find a typo.
I don't think I've ever put this document out in front of the board and the public and not had you find something, Debbie. And I know there's no way we're that good.
Oh, yeah, there is. There is, but it's just one very small, and it's a noun verb possible disagreement depending on how you take the sentence. I don't need to take the board's time with that. But anyway,
I'll look forward to your email.
Okay, TAG thought it was an excellent document, and we look forward to moving forward. And if you can figure out any way to explain to the public how the different pots of money work, and you can't just borrow from one to provide the other, that seems to be a problem with government everywhere. So thank you very much. I think it's great.
Yeah. And on that last sentence, I think it is a problem with government everywhere, not with people everywhere, because how would people know? So yeah, how can we help them understand that so they don't feel like it's just capricious on the side of the Jefferson Transit or the board or whatever powers it be that might be limiting their service. You can imagine this page on the website that's dedicated to that, maybe. So there's not much else to say here. Does anybody have any closing thoughts before we go into the closing part of the hearing? Might rescue some of our day here. A little early? Okay. All right. Well, this hearing I'm going to go back to the screen, make sure nobody typed. Okay. This hearing on the 2024 to 2029 Transit Development Plan is now closed. The final action will take place by resolution at the next scheduled regular board meeting on August 20, 2024. If somebody, may I ask, if somebody comes across this video and they have anything that they desperately want to add, the public hearing is closed, but may they still reach out to anybody? Or is it just, it's just closed?
I think we will always accept feedback. I will say that maybe because it does take time to edit a document and get a final version in front of the board for our next board meeting, there's probably going to be a cutoff point. I can't tell you what that is. That's why we do these hearings. But we always appreciate feedback from the public. So if it doesn't make it into this one, it's something we're going to consider going forward.
Great, a good answer. And yeah, I mean, better to put it out there, people who are listening later on, than to hold it.
And that could just come in as regular public comment through a
Correct.
regular process, right?
Right.
And maybe
Great.
its own little post sign in the next TDP.
Okay. Nice. Excellent. Anybody else have any final thoughts? Okay. Well, we're done.
Thanks for your work,
Close
everyone.
this meeting. All right. Thank you.
Thank
That looks
you.
great. Thank you. Making us proud. All right.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Great afternoon.
Bye.
Take care.